Think buttercream is just for frosting cakes? In this tutorial, I'm sharing 10 creative, unexpected, and fun things to do with buttercream, from painting and stamping to sculpting figures and more. These techniques are beginner-friendly and will help you decorate cakes with more color, texture, and confidence. Buttercream has a unique quality that makes it perfect for this first trick. When it's cold, it firms up enough to hold its shape, which means you can pipe decorations, this is a 2D tip for these flowers, with layered colours of buttercream in a piping bag to get this multicoloured effect. Put it into the freezer for 10 minutes to freeze the buttercream and then just pick them up and press them onto your cake. I came up with a buttercream technique a few years ago that I called facelift frosting, where you pipe onto a crumb-coated cake and then freeze those decorations, and then frost the cake over them and freeze again, just for 20 minutes to set the frosting. Then use a warm cake comb to scrape around the cake several times, and you can warm the comb by holding it under running water, or if you have a metal cake comb, use a blowtorch or a hairdryer to heat it. You'll scrape off the outer layer of frosting to reveal the colourful piping underneath. This is an unusual effect because typically buttercream patterns are textured and they stick out from a cake, but with facelift frosting, they're completely flat. Okay, messages. You can pipe them onto buttercream cakes, but you can also imprint them using lettering sets like this one by Sweet Stamp. For best results on buttercream, chill the cake for at least an hour to set the frosting. Then let it sit at room temperature for about 30 minutes, so the frosting is still firm but slightly softened. Gently press the letters into the buttercream, pushing all over to make sure the whole letter imprints, and lift them off carefully to leave a clean, neat message. You can paint into the letters using edible metallic paint, store-bought or make it yourself with vodka and gold luster dust, and use a tiny brush for the neatest results. Create sculpted cakes that look like fondant, but are made with buttercream, using a piece of acetate, which is a flexible sheet of plastic that wraps around curved edges to smooth the buttercream without leaving trails along the sides. Pro tip: dip the acetate in warm water if you're struggling with air bubbles in frosting, or if the frosting is starting to set against the cold cake before you finish smoothing it. Another thing you might not know you can do with buttercream is use it like paint. You can use piping bags or a palette knife, or just a knife, a fork, and a spoon, like I'm using on this cake. Chill the cake first so the frosting is firm, and then tint small amounts of buttercream with gel colours and use utensils to spread, dab, swipe, or press it onto the cake to create flower petals, stems, and leaves. Instead of using hard fondant or chocolate for figures, you can use shaped buttercream. You'll need silicone molds, and then you can just spoon the buttercream into the molds, pressing it down with the back of a spoon or an offset spatula to make sure it fills every detail. Smooth the surface so the back of your topper will be flat and even, then freeze the molds for at least 30 minutes. When they're completely firm, gently peel back the silicone to release the shapes. Handle them quickly because they'll warm up and soften fast. Press them onto a frosted cake to attach them. If a piece snaps, just press the broken parts gently back together. As the buttercream softens slightly, it will stick back to itself. These are pretty and delicious. Buttercream melts in the heat, which is really useful for this next technique. For buttercream that's too stiff or full of air bubbles, scoop out about a third of it and microwave it for 10 seconds. Stir this melted buttercream back into the main bowl of frosting, and as it mixes with the room temperature buttercream, it will create the perfect consistency for spreading and smoothing it onto a cake and get rid of any stubborn air bubbles. This is so useful if you struggle with smooth frosting on cakes. Turn buttercream into colourful tiles to make an edible mosaic. Spread different colours of buttercream onto a piece of parchment paper and freeze it until the buttercream is hard. Use a sharp knife to cut the frozen buttercream into small triangles. Outline your shape onto a cake with a toothpick and then press the frozen triangles on top to create a mosaic. The frozen buttercream needs to stay cold while you decorate, so ideally prepare 2 trays of buttercream tiles and rotate them between the freezer and your decorating space, so you're always working with cold buttercream. Wrap a cake in buttercream to create fun effects like these wavy stripes, and after chilling the cake in the fridge for about an hour, you'll be able to peel the parchment paper away from the design, leaving the design behind on the cake. You'll need to do some touch-ups to tidy up any air pockets or smudges, and I teach this whole technique step by step in my online course on 10 cake decorating techniques, and the link for that is in the top of the screen and in the video description. This last buttercream technique is a practical one. Did you know that you can freeze leftover buttercream in an airtight container like a Tupperware or a Ziploc Ziploc bag for a month. So useful if you don't use the whole batch or have little bits of different colours left over. To defrost the buttercream, take it out the night before you need it, to come to room temperature by the next morning. Add colour if you want to retint it, and stir it well to knock out any air bubbles, and now it's ready to use. This avoids so much waste with those small amounts of leftover buttercream, and saves you time when you can use the leftovers instead of making a new batch of buttercream. I hope you've seen some techniques you'd like to try. Tell me in the comments which is your favourite, and visit my cake school on britishgirlbakes.com to learn hundreds more cake decorating techniques and designs. See you there!